Killer Cam wants to set the record straight that he is not buying into the idea of African Americans.
Oh.
He never has. He looks at himself as Black American, not as African American. Interesting comments. So his show, shouts out to Cam and Mace, by the way. It is what it is. Sports. Their show is kind of a mashup of sports and hip hop culture, and it got picked up by a major media outlet that eludes me at the moment, and they're currently on the start of their third season. So shouts out to Cam and Mace. Glad for them, man. It's an entertaining show. Anybody who has not looked at it, check it out. It's definitely worth it. But yeah, so Cam made some interesting comments about the delineation between African American and not, or Black American, so to speak. So we figured we'd broach this on the channel. So this says Cameron identifies as Black, not African American. Africans don't even fuck with us. Cameron has turned a portion of the season 3 premiere of his sports talk show, It Is What It Is, into a monologue on his views on racial classification. About halfway through the show's most recent episode, Cameron began talking to co-host Mace about race and sports fandom. That led Killer Cam into an extended speech about why he thought of himself as Black American as opposed to an African American. I'd rather fill in Black than African American on ID forums because Africans don't even fuck with us, he began. When you go over there to Africa, they call us Yankees. They fuck with us, but we're not from the motherland. We're from America. So I'd rather say I'm a Black American. Cam then used the Olympics as an example to further his point. When we go to the Olympics as a country and somebody Black is fighting from the United States, you don't say African American, you say American. You don't even put a color on it. It's an American fighter. You're known in the Olympics as an American. It doesn't matter what color you are. He continued, the point is they don't categorize it when it's world competition, but when it's other shit, it needs to be categorized. So I consider myself a Black American. I don't consider myself an African American. The rapper / talk show host wound down by shouting out all my N-words in Africa. Much love, he added. Much love, he added, but y'all don't consider us real Africans. Y'all don't. So we'll go ahead and play a couple of clips here with Cam talking about this real quick.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
All right, so I'm gonna have to refresh the page because you know how Instagram starts right when you get on it.
Yeah.
But here we go.
I'd rather feel in Black than African American. Because Africans don't even fuck with us.
Wow.
Because they don't.
And Americans do?
Well, you're American, Mace. You're born in America. When you go to the Olympics, and when I say African American, you go over there, they call us Yankees and all that. They fuck with us, but we're not from the motherland. We're from America. So I'd rather say I'm a Black American. When we go to the Olympics as a country, and somebody Black is fighting from the United States, you don't say African American, you say American. You don't even put a color on it. It's an American fighter fighting a European fighter, or China or Japanese or anything. You're known in the Olympics. Honest with you. I'm be totally honest with you. And I know we got to get back to our topics. We already a few minutes in. I'd rather feel in Black than African American. Because Africans don't even fuck with us.
Wow.
As an American, it doesn't matter what color you are. You're an American fighting against somebody from Cameroon or Senegal, whatever. The point being is they don't categorize it when it's world competition, but when it's other shit, it needs to be categorized. So I consider myself a Black American. I don't consider myself African American. And shout out to all my niggas in Africa. Much love. But y'all don't consider us real Africans. Y'all pigs.
Okay.
Interesting.
So interesting take there. Cam is actually kind of a smart guy there. I don't think a lot of people realize that especially from his earlier days when he was strictly a rapper. But he has various perspectives, and it's kind of interesting to hear him talk about certain things from time to time. I think if you remove the Dipset Cameron out of your mind and just look at him as a person who knows stuff, yeah, he is actually interesting when you hear him talk about certain things. So, what did you make of this? Cam, says he'd rather classify himself as Black American than African American.
I mean, yeah, I understand his stance. So I'm more in line with his form of thinking than people that walk around calling themselves African American. So yeah, I don't care for that term myself, to be honest. And it's not for the reason that he has. Me personally, I don't care for the term. And I feel as though people need to. Now, I'm familiar of my nationalities, but I think people just need to try their best if you can. Claim and find some level of nationality that you do have that is within some type of record, if you can, and claim that because too often Black people, I use that term Black, for it's the word that everybody else.
It's most recognizable, yeah.
Right. So that's why I use that term, but I don't even care for that, to be honest. And so, because if you ask a white person, hey, you're white, aren't you? And they'll tell you about their Irish, they're Italian, they're this, they're that, Russian. They'll tell you about their, nationality, their ethnicity, or whatever. They'll tell you about that. So too often Black people, for various reasons, don't know those things. All right. So we just been being called a whole bunch of things, a whole bunch of labels. Another thing that I don't like hearing, and I think is like, where are we? What year is this? When people be like people of color, and it'd be Black people, people, my people of color. And I'm like, man, like, I'm not colored. So colored, Negro, yeah, all of these terms, man. I don't dig any of them. So I'm familiar with my background, and that's what I pretty much claim. And but for those people that aren't, defaulting on Black, I mean, that's fine. But I just don't think, I think the term African American, what it does is, not everybody, this is the last thing I'll say, not everybody that's over here that has this complexion, was in the transatlantic slave trade. And there's a lot of people that have blood that's been in America for a very long time. And not all of those people are African American, so to speak. So I feel like that term is divisive in the sense of it removes the ownership of America by saying that you're from two continents versus saying that you're American. Because there is a lot of Black people that are here that have always been here. The family has always been here, I believe. I don't think all of us are a part of the transatlantic slave trade. But that's just my thoughts. What about you, sir? What are your thoughts on Cameron's take on saying that Africans don't really mess with us, and he doesn't really care for the term African American for that reason?
I like what he said because it shows that he's conscientious of the fact that there is a very clear delineation between ethnic heritage when it comes to Black people in this country and non-Black people in this country. Because if you call, and you know what's funny, as an aside, before I get into my overall point, this is what, it's this type of thing and understanding this that made me stop using the word Hispanic. So like I used to always refer to people who speak Spanish as Hispanic. And then I dated a girl who was Latino, and she was like, I get that you're using that word, but really it's actually incorrect. people from Spain are Hispanic. So if a person's from Spain, you call them Hispanic. Obviously, a person from Spain speaks Spanish, but there's also half the whole world who also speaks Spanish. Not everybody's from Spain. So it's actually factually incorrect to call someone Hispanic just because they speak Spanish, right? And she helped me learn this. So she was like, the correct term to use is actually Latino or Latina, or if you want to be on that politically correct BS, Latinx. But I don't acknowledge that. I still say Latino or Latina personally. But she told me that because she had dual heritage. Her dad was Mexican and her mom was from Guatemala. So she's Mexican in Guatemala, but she was like, I'm not Hispanic, I'm not from Spain. So, it didn't offend her when I said Hispanic, but she was just like, setting the record straight, helping me out because I didn't know this. So heritage is an important thing that everyone owes it to themselves to understand their origins, is the point in me bringing up that story. And I think Cameron speaking this way, now I don't know if Cameron has done an Ancestry or a 23andMe, but whether he has or not, him speaking in this regard shows me that he is at least aware of the fact that those delineations exist. And there's a lot of people in the world, well, in this country, who don't recognize those delineations. And shouts out to you because you brought up to me, which prompted me to do some research on the origins of African American or Black and the way that these terms were put on forms and voting cards and things of that nature purely for the purposes of census designations. So it was a way to bracket people in terms of classifications so that they can loop you into certain areas of income and socioeconomic standing based upon the bubble that you filled out. But it has absolutely nothing to do with your actual heritage or your ethnic origin. Correct. So whenever you call yourself Black or African American, you're really identifying yourself as a census designation, not as a person of actual ethnic origin.
Correct.
So, shouts out to you because you helped me understand, because I didn't know that. I'd do my research so I can learn that. And shouts out to my girl. I'm not going to say her name. I'll just, I'll use her first initial. I'll just say,
right, just call her X.
I'll just say J. I'm gonna call her J because that's her first initial. But shouts out to her for that, because she helped me to understand. Like she regularly be like, "Well, I'm Guatemalan and Mexican. I'm not Hispanic. I'm not from Spain." And I think that recognizing those things is helpful. And I hear what Cameron's saying. Like, I'm not really with African American, nor am I with Black. I'm not really with either one, because of the fact that I did some research and learned the origins of those terms. But like you, because most people resonate with the word Black and use the word Black, I use the word Black because that's just what everyone says. So it's like, okay, whatever, fuck it. Y'all say Black, so I'll say Black, whatever.
Colloquial, that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, but I think everyone at some point owes it to themselves, myself included. I'm in this boat as well, full disclosure. Everyone needs to do an Ancestry, a 23andMe, whatever thing you want to use to trace your actual lineage so that you know where you come from, and so that everybody, if a person refers to you as Black or African American or whatever, or whenever it comes up contextually, regardless, whenever it comes up in passing conversation, whatever, or just so that so that you can pass this legacy to your own children. It's like, we're not that, we are actually this, whatever your origin may be. But I think everyone, especially people such as us in this country, should do that at some point. America is a giant Ellis Island. If you go over to the UK, everyone is either Nigerian, Cameroonian, Welsh, Norwegian, Polish, Irish. You know what I'm saying? Everyone is from somewhere specific. If you go down to South America, everybody is Colombian, Dominican, Guatemalan, Brazilian, Costa Rican. That's what people say. Here, it's like, hell, I'm Black. I'm African American. That's not actually an origin. It's not actually a heritage. It's a census designation. So, I'm not trying to cast aspersions on anyone because you only know what you know. But shouts out to Cameron for talking like this. I'm with it. I'm not with either term, but if I'm going to be closer on either side, like you, I'm closer to his side. I'm not saying African American either. But I think the bigger point for me is, we need to trace our origins so that we can learn specifically where we come from, so that you can create some kind of family legacy and name for yourself that can be passed down instead of literally just being listless and quite literally being designed as a census classification because that's all Black and African American is at the end of the day.
Yeah, and last thing I'll say, or you can do it like Cam said, man. And if you don't have access to that or not going to do that, the ancestry stuff, I would recommend talking to grandma, or if you have access, or try to ask, up the ladder. They'd be having stories. So try asking some questions up the ladder. If none of that stuff works, then defaulting on American ain't wrong either. And just like how you said, man, because if I went to Canada, I'm an American.
Yeah.
If I go to Africa, I'm an American to them. And to his point, with they don't really mess with us like that. I don't know. It's up and down. But we are foreign, and they're aware of that. I mean, it's a big old ocean in between. So yeah, they're gonna do that. So yeah, the whole notion of African American, like you said, that's well said. I didn't say it like that. That is just a census thing. But if you know, then yeah, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, that's a good way of putting it. And so that's why I'm not walking around saying that I'm two continents. Because if you ask whatever person of another culture, they're going to tell you exactly where they come from.
Yep.
And they're not giving you two continents. And not oh yeah, I'm Australian American. I'm not saying that. I said I'm Australian. I'm Korean. Like I'm. Yeah. So yeah, I'm with Cam on that. And again, if you don't know exactly where you're from, default on American. That's not nothing to be ashamed of either.
Right.
So
yeah, they may be an American, they may be an Australian American citizen, but absolutely they are 100. They're Australian.
Exactly.
Citizenship and heritage are two different things. So like they can be an American citizen that's Australian, but they're Australian or they're German. It's one thing that I've always kind of envied about these people is that they are able to say they have a country of origin. Not that I think that I'm beneath them because I don't necessarily know that off the top of my head, but that's something that I think anyone should aspire to, is just having an origin. And we all have an origin. We didn't just, we were born, our lineage traces back somewhere. So I think everyone needs, that's a strong word, but everyone at some point should, do themselves a favor if you don't know this and trace that, figure that out, because you want to be able to impart that onto future generations that have your last name for sure.
Yep.
Because these people who say I'm German and I'm Polish, I'm Irish, I'm Welsh, that matters. That seriously, like that matters, So, but shouts out to Cam. That was that I like that what he said. At the end of the day, it just kind of shows that he's a conscientious person, which I can't be mad at that at all.
Hey man, if you heard any of his bars, he was. Now I'm not. Listen, I'm whatever with Cam. I mean, I'm a fan of his, but his bars, nobody's gonna put him, in the Jay-Z category like we were just talking earlier. But if you understand what he's saying when he's saying the kooky stuff that he's saying, you have to be a thinker in order to come up with the ridiculousness that he said, and it still sounded cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's always been a sharp guy, man. But it's nice to see him behind the microphone and, like you say, saying things. It's like, oh, okay, yeah. All right, yeah, I can dig that. So shout out to Cam, man.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Shouts out to Cam and Mace, man, and it is what it is. Good show.
Yeah, good show. Hey, can't hate.
Yeah,
can't hate.